Hey guys, today we're going to be reviewing the entire Unit 6, which was all about operations involving polynomials. Okay, so our first problem says simplify the following polynomial. So whenever you see a polynomial like this and they ask you to simplify, they want you to get it down to the smallest number of terms, no parentheses allowed. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of these parentheses here. So we're going to do that by getting this -3 that's out front and multiplying it in. So this is going to get multiplied in. So the first two terms, I'm going to leave them the way they are, so 14w plus 8. But now, -3 times 9 is -27, and -3 times -w is positive 3w. Remember, negative times a negative makes positive. Now the last thing for us to do is to combine like terms. So I notice that the first one and the last one both have w's. 14 plus 3 is 17w. And then the two in the middle are just regular numbers that we can combine. So positive 8 minus 27 gives us -19. So this is that polynomial simplified as much as it can go. Okay, the next one says which expression is equivalent to. So normally you would have answer choices to look at, but really, again, they're wanting us to simplify this as much as we can. So we always need to get rid of the parentheses first. So that 5x squared is all on its own. It's going to stay the same. Then next thing we need to do is get this positive. And remember, there's an invisible 1 there. And we're going to multiply it in. So 1 times 3x is still 3x. 1 times -2x squared is -2x squared. Then our plus 11, nothing is happening to that. And then last, that negative sign, if there's no number, remember it's -1, we're going to multiply it in. So this will become -7x. And then -1 times 6 is -6. Okay, now there's no more parentheses. We're one step closer, but now all we have left to do is combine our like terms. So I noticed that 5x squared and -2x squared are like terms because they both have x and they have the second power. So 5 minus 2 gives me 3x squared. Okay, then I have positive 3x. And the other term I have is -7x. Combining those will give us -4x. And then last, 11 minus 6 gives me positive 5. Okay, let's look at our next one. So this one is a word problem. It says a shoe company is going to combine the inventory from two of its stores. So we have store A and store B. What is a combined inventory? So if they're asking you to combine, what do you think we should do with those two polynomials? So we're going to add. If we're combining, we're adding them together. So we're going to look for like terms. So store A and store B, they both have a term that has b to the second power. So I'm going to combine that. What is 1/2 plus 4? So it is 4.5, but you need to write that as an improper fraction. So that would be 9/2b to the second power. Okay, next I have -3/4b, but in store B, there is no term that has a b, so that's going to stay exactly the way it is. And then last, I have these two fractions, 1/4 plus 7/2. We're going to add those together. And that gives me 15/4. So if you're not too good with fractions, remember you can always use a calculator. Desmos.com/scientific would be a good one, and it will simplify the fraction for you. Okay, our next one says, which expression is equivalent to? So normally you would have answer choices, but for now, what we're going to do is we're going to simplify as much as we can. So we're looking for a greatest common factor. So looking at these, 14 and 49 are both divisible by 7, and then they both have x's, so I can divide by x as well. But another thing to notice is that they are both negative. So that means I can divide by a negative 7x. So if I do that, I'm going to write this here on the outside. But what happens when I divide by negative 7x? So negative divided by negative makes this positive. 14 divided by 7 is 2. And x squared divided by x gives me just plain x. Okay, and then for the next one, negative divided by a negative is going to make that positive. 49 divided by 7 is 7, and those x's cancel out. Okay, on to our next problem. So it says, which expression is equivalent to, and again, I'm getting these off the test, so the question will look like this and you will normally have answer choices. But anytime you see two polynomials next to each other like that with no operation in the middle, they want you to multiply. So you can use double distribution, that's what I showed you in class, or you can use the box method. For now, I'm going to use the box method because I think it's a little more organized. So what I'm looking at is this first term has 3 and this second one has 2. So my box needs to be a 3 by 2 box. It's going to look more like a rectangle. See that? Okay, and then I'm going to take this first polynomial and I'm going to write those terms with each square. So h squared plus 3h and minus 4. And in the second polynomial, I'm going to write those two terms here down the side. So negative 6h and plus 2. And now we're going to multiply corresponding rows and column. Okay, so h squared times negative 6h. That would be a negative 6h to the third power. So remember your properties of exponents, you have to add these up. Okay, now let's go to the middle. Negative 6h times 3h. Negative 6 times 3 is 18. So negative 18. And then for the h's, there's now 2 of them. Okay, and then this square here, negative 6h times negative 4. Remember that a negative times a negative makes that positive. So that'll be positive 24h. Now let's do the bottom row. 2 times h squared is positive 2h squared. Okay, then 2 times 3h is positive 6h. And last square, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Okay, so once you have your box filled in, you're going to take everything out of it, but you're going to combine like terms as you go. So this one is the only term I see that has a little 3 as its exponent. So that is going to stay the same, negative 6h to the third. Okay, but then if you look diagonally, I have two terms that have h to the second power. So we're going to combine those. 2 minus 18 would give me negative 16h to the second. Okay, and then the next diagonal, positive 6h and positive 24h, adding those together gives me positive, sorry, don't want to write in highlighter, gives me positive 30h, and then last I have that minus 8. Okay, let's look at our next one. It says, what is the area of the rectangle below? So we know that area of a rectangle is just length times width. So if you look, they have it labeled. This is the length, this is the width. So we're just going to multiply those two binomials. 5x plus 7 times 7x plus 2. So you can do the box method again. This time it's going to be a 2 by 2 box. Okay, so first polynomial across the top and second polynomial down the side. So we're going to multiply corresponding row and column. So 5x times 7x gives me 35x squared. Then 7x times 7 gives me 49x, and it's positive. Now bottom row, 2 times 5x gives me 10x. And last square, 2 times 7 is 14. So now we're going to take all of our terms out, but we're going to combine like terms as we go. So I have 35x to the second power. Then if you look diagonally, I have two terms that have x's, so we're going to put those together. So 10 plus 49 is 59x. And then last I have plus 14. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so the last problems are all going to be factoring. For this one, it says, what are the factors of 6x squared minus 7x minus 3? So we need to look at those numbers. 6 is our A, negative 7 is B, negative 3 is C. So we're going to start by making our T chart. And on the left, we want to multiply A times C. So 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. So now let's list some factors. I can do 1 times negative 18, 2 times negative 9, 3 times negative 6. And then the negative could always be the other way around as well. So negative 1 times positive 18, negative 2 times 9, and negative 3 times 6. Okay, so out of all these choices, we're looking for the one that adds up to B. And in our problem, B is negative 7. So take a look at those choices. Which one would give me negative 7? Okay, so really quickly, just adding through them. So I have negative 17, negative 7, negative 3, positive 17, positive 7, and positive 3. So just be careful, 7 shows up twice. You want the one that's negative. So we're going to use these two numbers here. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite that polynomial, but I'm going to change negative 7 to positive 2 and minus 9. So I have 6x squared positive 2x minus 9x minus 3. Okay, then we'll cut that down the middle. And looking at the first two, they both have x's, so I can divide by x. But they're also both even numbers, so I can divide by 2. So I'm going to write down my 2x, and then let's say what happens when we do our dividing. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then one of the x's is going to cancel out. So I have 3x. And then here, 2 divided by 2 is 1, the x's cancel out, so I just have plus 1. Okay, now on the other side of that line, I notice that they're both negative, so we're going to divide by a negative number, and it looks like it's going to be 3. So let's write down our negative 3, and then let's see what happens when we divide. Negative divided by negative is a positive, so that'll be positive 3x. And then same thing here, negative divided by negative is a positive, so plus 1. Okay, so you'll know you did this correctly because what's inside of the parentheses is the same for both of them, and that is going to be our first factor, so 3x plus 1. Then everything outside of the parentheses is the other factor, so 2x minus 3. Okay, let's look at another one. It says factor the expression. So same thing, there's my polynomial. This will be A, B, and C. So let's start with our T chart. So let's multiply A times C. 2 times negative 15 is negative 30. And now let's list all the factors. So I could have 1 times negative 30, 2 times negative 15, 3 times negative 10, 5 times negative 6. And then the negative could be the other way around. So the first number could be negative. So negative 1 times 30, negative 2 times 15, negative 3 times 10, and negative 5 times 6. Okay, so we're looking for the one that has a sum equal to b, and our b is positive 7 here. So looking at those choices, which one do you think it's going to be? Okay, so with this one you have to be careful. 3 minus 10 is negative 7, and then negative 3 plus 10 is positive 7, so just make sure you're picking the correct one. It's going to be negative 3 and positive 10. So I'm going to rewrite that polynomial, but I'm going to replace the 7 with those two numbers. So 2x squared minus 3x plus 10x minus 15. Okay, let's split that down the middle. And for the first two terms, it looks like the only thing they have in common is the x. So I'm going to write that x down, and then let's say what happens when we divide. So I would have 2x minus 3. Okay, on the other side, they're both divisible by 5. And notice that it's a positive 5, so we're going to write plus 5. And when we divide, 10 divided by 5 is 2x, and 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. Okay, so we know that we did this correctly because what's inside the parentheses is the same for both of them, and that is our first factor, so 2x minus 3. And then what's on the outside is our other factor, x plus 5. Okay, our next one says factor the expression. So remember, when you only have two terms, see how there's nothing in the middle? There should be a term that has just regular x. So if you ever have two like this, check to see if it is a difference of squares. So see how it's subtracting? So we're good with that. But now check to see if they're squares. So if you go into the calculator and you try to find the square root of 16, that will give you 4. And then because it was x squared, it's going to reduce down to x. And then for 25, do the same thing, put in the calculator, and you will see that that's 5. So see how everything is a whole number? So I could just follow the pattern, 4x minus 5, and then for the other one, we're going to use a plus sign. Okay, and then one last question. It says the area of a rectangular painting is 7x squared plus 12x minus 4. What are the dimensions? So we are going to factor. 7 is A, 12 is B, and negative 4 is C. So let's start by doing our T-chart. So A times C would be negative 28. Okay, and what are all the ways to multiply and get that? So I could have negative 1 times 28, negative 2 times 14, and negative 4 times 7. And then, of course, the other way around. So 1 times negative 28, 2 times negative 14, and 4 times negative 7. So we're looking for the one that has a sum equal to B. So which one adds up to positive 12? And it's going to be the second one right here. That gives me 12. Just be careful. This one down here gives me negative 12, so just make sure you don't pick the wrong one. So we want negative 2 and positive 14. Negative 2x, positive 14x, then minus 4. Okay, we're going to cut that down the middle. And on the left side, looks like the only thing they have in common is the x. So let's write that and then do our dividing. Okay, and then on the right side, they are both even numbers, so I can divide by 2. And notice that it's a positive 2. So 14 divided by 2 is 7x. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Okay, so then see how what's in the parentheses is the same for both? So that is the first factor. And then everything on the outside is the other factor. So this is the polynomial in factored form. But remember, this is asking about dimensions. So you would say the painting is 7x minus 2 units by x plus 2 units. And this is a multiple choice test, so there's a chance that they might put it the other way around, but that's fine, as long as it has those two factors. Okay, guys, and that's everything that's going to be on the test. Test is tomorrow. Please let me know if you have any questions.